sort of three key aspects with this bike.
You got $41,400 for the standard. What's the price point on the next two levels?
You can. It basically creeps up close to the 50,000 mark by the time you tick all the boxes. I think it was 49 something or other.
I'll have to go to the ATM.
So, like on one of the slides there, we can select obviously different colours. That does have an impact on the price. There's the three different spec levels of the standard, which does have radar on there, but then we can also opt in with pannier boxes and head grips and things like that. So there's three spec levels there, and then there's also the caps, so we can add in crash bars and bits and pieces. So yeah, the price range we're basically talking about sort of 40 to 50,000 mark, but it does depend on how many boxes you pick.
Yep. Yeah. And it seems to be going for the jugular, perhaps the GSA, Beamer.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. You know, it's when we did the testing in Sardinia, we had other bikes there to compare against, and 100% GSA is going to be a target for them. It's been around for a number of years, and BMW they've got their traditions that they have in terms of the design of the bike and the platform, I guess. Ducati have got their platform, and it was really interesting to ride the bikes back to back and see how those characteristics change. But I think they've done as I said, riding the bike back then.
Going live, your hand's going live throughout the world now. No, do it again, You've been a hand model for me. Oh, look at that. Look at that. It's my mate, he's a hand model.
So as Alana mentioned, we'll have a couple of demo units available come May. So we'll organise test rides for all of you with those units.
Demo units in May, you ripper.
For those of you that haven't ridden the V4S, even in recent times, it's probably worthwhile.
Look at these little chutes. They blow cool air onto you and you can shut them up.
Nice comparison for you. And then if you want to see our test later on.
Someone comes back, welcome to Motorcycle Adventure, Mad TV, hand model.
Yeah. It's just hit the button there, so we've got the main ignition
I think
switch.
you were standing in front before.
So it is a keyless ignition on the bike. That can live in your pocket. We do need the key part of it to open the fuel tank or the seat, and I might even pop the seat off to show you the adjustability there with that. So just in on the right hand side, pop that around. Rear passenger seat comes off. We can get these seats heated as well. So on the V4S, there's heated seat elements both for the rider and passenger. Then in terms of the rider's seat adjustability, just two quick release adjusters or fasteners there at the back. And then we've got two height positions that seat can go in. So we can raise and lower that seat by 20.
Oh, you guys, I just had to move back a bit because they're in the middle of the presentation, so I can't talk, can't respond to your messages at the moment.
There's also a 12-volt.
You're on live, they're watching in America.
So if you want to power up a heated vest or something for the passenger, they can plug into that, and the rider can
What's the spec? Is there any difference between rally and enduro?
So there's a lot of sort of
mate, I filmed the entire press release, so I'll stick that up on Mad TV probably in the next day or two, so you can see the full specs. Nick Selick does a good presentation, so he'll have all the specs for those who are interested. It's a mean looking thing.
You can see the aluminium frames, pannier racks on there are nice and beefy.
Don't worry about it.
So it comes standard with those racks, and obviously you can add on the pannier boxes, but feel free to have a sit, give it a try. So remember I mentioned that easy lift function, that when the bike's stationary, I believe the sequence is if we've got the bike on, I can't remember whether you need to have the bike running. I do believe you might have the bike running, and as you lift the bike off the side stand, it opens up those the damping valves in the forks and the shock. It allows more of that weight of the bike to sink into the suspension, so you don't have to lift the bike as high up, if you like. So it makes it easier with that transition between coming off the side stand and.
Does that auto reset right away?
Yeah, it does. So it cancels out after 3 minutes. I was reading through the specs of the other day.
Minutes.
Yeah, so that's like if you've got the bike sitting here idle and you don't touch it,
Yeah.
it'll, you know, for
Oh,
3
after
minutes
3
it'll be in
minutes
that
yeah.
ready to go mode. But as soon as you click it into here, it'll reset the damp into, you know, whatever mode you've got it in. And remember that too with the damping, the suspension on this bike, we've got a huge amount of adjustability. I mentioned there the minimum preload setting. So if I press and hold that button, we can hear the bike's wearing away, and you might, if you put your hand on the back of the bike, you'll see that bike slowly sinking down. We've taken all that preload out of the rear shock to allow that seat height to sink down to the minimum. So as I said, look, I'm not a particularly tall guy, 178 centimetres. I'm there kind of on tippy toes. If I had my riding gear on, it'd be more on, you know, the balls of my feet. If I go back now into the maximum preload setting, and let's get it right up there. So now I've set it to be rider, passenger and luggage. And I'm definitely getting more on my tippy toes now.
Mate, you hit the roof soon.
Going up.
Still going.
Christ.
So, you know, look, I am, yeah, very much more on my tippy toes now. And again, so if we have a look at where I am now, and if I'll go back to that minimum preload setting, so press and hold that preload button for 3 seconds. So we're now going to take all of that preload out.
Down you go.
It's feeling to me like a good, probably 30, maybe even 40 mil of change in seat height.
Wow.
And is it just in the rear?
Just in the rear, yeah. So it definitely does make the difference between then when you've got to start.
Hi Sam, how you going? Just whispering.
You know, foot plant on the ground. Or likewise, as I said, if you're coming into a tricky off-road situation, sometimes I'll do that. As I said, I run my seat in the high position. And if I see I'm coming up to a snotty, rocky little bit where I think, oh, I might need to dab, sometimes I'll hit that minimum preload button so I'm ready if I need to do a dab of the foot. I know I can get my foot down more confidently. And then with that minimum preload button, we can either press and hold that button again for 3 seconds while we're riding and it'll revert back to that standard position, or once our ground speed gets above 90 kilometres an hour, it automatically reverts back to your preset preload, 90. Yeah.
You can just go back into that menu
Yeah, so press and hold that preload button.
Okay guys, I just thought I'd come out for a quick moment while they're doing that presentation, just to say I've got the full video of Nick Selleck describing the specifications of this bike, and I'll post that in the next couple of days. But I just thought I'd give you a bit of a live from the Ducati HQ in Sydney, Australia, for the Multistrada V4 Rally presser. So there you go. I hope to ride with Nick later on this Multistrada. You may recall we did a great test on the previous Multistrada where we were jumping him through the forest. It was great fun. The thing that stands out for me on this bike is the significant upgrades in the suspension. So, interesting times. So we're back from Mildura, back from the desert, back in the smog, and I come back for this. So it's raining good adventure bikes at the moment. Hi Dave and Sam as well. Greetings from cold Sweden. I'm not taking that on the Gun Barrel Highway. Too big, too heavy. Okay, Peter. Oh yeah, Peter. How are you, Pete? Yeah. Well, we've got a Desert X project coming up that will make Peter's eyes water soon. Alrighty. Okay, I'll catch you all later.